Creepy cults, veiled women. We've seen them in movies, heard about them in stories, but we know very little about them. Are you ready for a mysterious and deep journey? Behind the closed doors of monasteries, virginal women live with unimaginable rules and secrets. Why are they hidden from everyone, and what do they want? Nuns first appeared in the 3rd century AD when a group of Christians known as the Desert Fathers began to isolate themselves from the world in remote mountains. These men lived far from people, wore light clothing in freezing weather, did not hide from the heat, deprived themselves of food and sleep, and inflicted suffering on their bodies, all for religion. Some even vowed not to bathe for months, even years. Similar to Islamic dervish lodges, they built monasteries. For example, the Sumela Monastery in Turkey or the Meteora monasteries in Greece were constructed in inaccessible mountain regions for the same reason, to cut all ties with the world. Christians who wished to leave everything behind settled there, never to return, becoming monks, or, as in our story, nuns. Nuns had to be virgins, could not wear makeup, and were not allowed to leave the monastery. So how does one become a nun? First, they had to be of legal age, over 18, and in full physical and mental health. If these conditions were met, a candidacy period of about 6 years began. In certain periods of medieval Europe, by papal decision, if a girl was over 15 and unmarried, she could be forced into a monastery. Frightening, isn't it? But today laws require legal age and voluntary choice. Because they live in communal life, candidates are expected to shed personal pride, showing forgiveness, apology, respect, responsibility, and cooperation. They must have balanced judgment, maturity, and calmness, avoiding excessive imagination, since conflicts and cliques must be prevented at all costs. Only humble, patient, and selfless individuals could manage this. If a candidate successfully completes the long training, with the approval of the abbess and council, she takes the triple vow and becomes a novice nun. The vow goes roughly like this: I am here freely before God and the Holy Church to join this community. I vow obedience, chastity, and poverty. From this moment on, I will own no possessions, keep my virginity until death, obey the Holy Church, and dedicate my life to God and my sisters. May God help me. Nuns are expected to remain virgins because they are considered married to God. Marriage to God? Yes, this is a common metaphor in Christianity. In the Bible, the church is described as the bride of Christ. Nuns, as part of the church, are reflections of this. Just as spouses remain faithful to one another in earthly marriage, nuns vow to dedicate themselves entirely to God. The roots of this metaphor reach back 5,000 years to Sumer. Temple women of Sumer were considered married to the gods, so they bore no children, since any child would be considered divine. The Christian nun's spiritual marriage is a continuation of this ancient idea. Nuns cannot own property. Before joining, they must give away all their possessions or donate them to the monastery. Their only belongings are their sacred habits, which cannot be discarded, replaced, or handed down. These garments hold such importance that belief says if a nun dies in purgatory, wearing her full habit, the Virgin Mary will intercede for her on the first Saturday after her death. This is called the Saturday privilege. So, what do their days look like? Nuns live communally, under strict order. Every task is systematically assigned. Some farm, grow vegetables and fruit, others cook or wash dishes, while others are responsible for cleaning, carpentry, or other tasks. Even meals are ritualized, eaten together in silence, after prayers. Complaining is forbidden, and gluttony is one of the 10 great sins, so food is modest and simple. Meat and dairy, spiri, are often avoided, especially in Orthodox monasteries, where strict vegetarian or vegan diets are common. Visits from family are rare and tightly controlled. Permission must be granted and meetings happen briefly, under supervision, without physical contact. Frequent visitors are discouraged, as nuns are expected to cut earthly ties. Leaving the monastery is almost never allowed, except under special circumstances, usually with the abbess present. Nuns have no personal phones, and monasteries usually forbid them. Some monasteries allow limited communal phones for necessity, and occasionally, in modern times, phones may be given temporarily for communication during outside duties. Television, if allowed at all, is communal, restricted to religious or educational channels chosen by the abbess. Each day includes time for prayer, work, and communal recreation, called recreation time, where nuns share thoughts, play simple games, or do needlework while still maintaining discipline. They must never gossip, speak over each other, or use inappropriate humor. Prayer dominates their schedule. Liturgical prayers are held multiple times daily. Midnight prayer, dawn prayer, first hour, third hour, sixth hour, ninth hour, evening prayer, and night prayer. Each nun also has a simple cell containing only a bed, desk, shelves, and icons. After night prayer, silence rules until morning. Sleep lasts 6 to 7 hours at most. One unique practice is the examination of conscience, where each nun confesses her faults, even small ones like a harsh look or thought, to the community. This keeps humility alive and prevents conflict. Most nuns shave their heads, not only for hygiene, but also as a form of humility, erasing individuality and beauty to strengthen communal identity. They also care for one another. If one is sick or elderly, another nun is assigned as caretaker. When a nun dies, other monasteries are informed and prayers are held. A record of all deceased members is kept in each monastery. Silence is deeply emphasized. Some orders, like the Cluny order founded in 910 in France, even developed sign language so monks and nuns could communicate without words, avoiding the sin of idle talk. In medieval times, extreme practices also emerged. Saints and zealots whipping themselves, depriving themselves of food and sleep, or even mutilating body parts to resist sin. Though now banned, some radical groups still practice self-mortification today. What if a nun wants to leave? In medieval Europe, the church had the authority to forcibly return escapees. Leaving was seen as apostasy, punishable even by death. Today, a nun who wishes to leave is first counseled, reminded of her vows, and warned of the gravity of the sin. If she insists, the request is sent to the Vatican, and if approved, she is formally released from her vows. But wait, if nuns are so cut off from the world, who are the women we see in public wearing habits? These are actually sisters. Sisters take simpler vows and serve in society, teaching in schools, working in hospitals, and doing charity. Unlike cloistered nuns, sisters live in the world while still following church discipline. So, in summary, cloistered nuns shut themselves away for life in monasteries under permanent vows, while sisters dedicate themselves to social service. Now the question is, but is it right for someone to isolate themselves so completely, inflict hardship on their own body, and deny all worldly life for the sake of faith? I'd like to hear your thoughts.